Says you're live.
Well, this is really stressing me out. Yeah.
Well, I can tell.
YouTube, something's going on with the daggone thing. We need to know if you can see us because we can't see us.
There's Chad.
Can
Chili.
you see
On
us?
your phone.
Oh, dang.
No.
We black. Well, corn. Turn that audio down, man.
Well, they're saying yes. They're saying they can see us.
They
I
are?
can I can now. It just come on mine.
Yeah.
How about that?
Oh, that was the delay.
Yeah, they all say they can see us.
Well, hey, if they can see us, they can hear us.
Well, hold on.
Hold on. Whoa, whoa,
Hold
whoa,
on.
whoa, whoa.
We're
whoa,
still
whoa,
testing.
Whoa.
I want to see this for my darn self here. Oh, yeah, they can see us. All right, switch the camera, Blake. I want to see if... I didn't even think about that. Yep, there's Chili.
Just a little delay.
There's CB. Huh. Well, I didn't even think about that. We can just go live and then we can watch it on our phones and know whether it's coming. We didn't even have to ask
Well,
the great people of YouTube.
Well, either way, man, they'll tell you quicker than you can even see it. That's why I wanted to ask. Get a little involvement.
Holy crow.
When you want corn to press this button?
Hey,
Hey, man, get off your phone. You're ticking me off.
well, I was just making sure all
You're
this
sitting
was
over there like a
working.
freaking child that would leave Pop-Tart crumbs all over the dang floor.
This is titled "Lay Your Eggs on High Ground."
Got to keep them eggs crisp, boy.
Okay. All right. You guys can start recording now. All right. Outstanding. Welcome back to the podcast. Great people of the world. We're happy that you are here. It's a wonderful day today. Kind of hard. It's not started off very well. What's going on over there, Blake?
Nothing.
I've popped my elbow has popped in a terrible way. Our YouTube isn't working. And hey, man, first world problems. We got a lot of first world problems here.
Yeah, you strained your elbow playing pickleball, and now you're complaining about YouTube not working. I mean, that's embarrassing.
My elbow is jacked, man. Anyways, welcome back to the podcast. This is titled "Lay Your Eggs on High Ground." I'll tell you how we got the title for this episode here. We were going up to the pickleball court this morning up on top of the mountain, and there was a red-eared slider turtle what had crawled from what we assume is the lake. The lake is probably, as the crow flies, 1.5 miles from the top of the mountain. That turtle had crawled from that lake. Don't know where else he could have came from because there's only one lake around there, and this was a big red-eared slider. Had made his way all the way up 1.5 miles. I'm sure he didn't crawl in a straight line either. That turtle probably crawled like 5 miles.
Oh yeah.
As
To
the
get up
turtle
there.
crawls.
As the turtle crawls to the top of that mountain and was digging a hole out on the side of my darn driveway trying to lay its eggs. Have you ever even heard anything like that?
I haven't. No.
I mean, you would think that turtle will dry out. You'd think the sun, maybe he may have just moved at night,
Probably a she.
or she may have just moved at night. I didn't even
Hermaphrodite.
think about that. She could have, got buried up under leaves and stuff during the day to keep herself from drying out.
Well, that's a possibility. Or come up that creek.
Did you see that other than corn on the way
Yeah.
out?
Yeah. When we turned on that road, you see it?
No, on his driveway.
No, I didn't see
Where I
one
was
on the
pointing?
driveway. I seen one on the road.
Well,
I
that's
saw that
pointing.
one on the road too.
Yeah. They moving, son.
Yeah, these turtles are going nuts out laying eggs, man.
Yeah.
Chili hates a turtle.
Why you hate turtles,
I
man?
can't stand a turtle.
If you're on Patreon, you'd see how much Chili hates turtles. I almost had to edit that out. That violence against turtles.
It made me uncomfortable when it was happening.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I got real uncomfortable.
Bad violence against turtles, man.
Yeah.
He will beat a turtle to death. Hey, never seen nothing like it, man.
Beat that turtle like he stole something.
What?
How'd I beat it, Corn?
Like a Memphis trick.
CB, what you sipping
That's how I'm
on
gonna
over
beat
there,
Chili
man?
Jr. if he's on this
is
dang
my
live stream.
first ever latte. It's
Oh,
a-
for real?
Yeah.
Decaf?
yeah. It's got frothy milk in it.
It's pretty good. Ain't
How do you
it?
like it?
You drink it with your pinky up. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Do you know
Pinkies up, homo.
do you know why they call an Americano, which is the coffee that I order, why they call it that?
No.
So in World War II, it may even been in World War One when it started. I don't know which one or the other, but American soldiers who were deployed to Europe started drinking the European coffee, which is espresso coffee. You know, they make it different.
Right.
And so when American soldiers would ask for a coffee over in Europe for the first time, well, they come out with a cup about this big. You know what I'm saying? And it's just got a little bitty sip of coffee in it. They just asked for black coffee because that's all they knew was black coffee. Well, that coffee, an espresso shot is like a supercharged shot of coffee is all it is.
Concentrate.
Right.
Yes, concentrated coffee.
Mm.
So the Americans started saying, no, just make me one of those, but then pour a bunch of hot water on it to give me a full cup of coffee. So that's why they started calling it an Americano.
I got
The
you.
same thing happened to me, man. All around, nobody else anywhere in the world that I've been makes coffee like we make coffee here in America out of the little drip pot or the percolator thing. That's terrible. Nobody else makes coffee like that anywhere in the world that I've ever been. The same thing happened to me. When I was in Northern Africa, I went and just asked for a cup of coffee, black coffee. Well, they gave me my coffee and it wasn't nothing but just one sip. I was like, what the crap is this, man? I had never seen nothing like that before.
Mm.
But back then, you know, I didn't know nothing. I didn't know the Americano trick that they
Right.
could have just poured hot water on that and it would have made me a full cup of American style coffee. You know, but that's the origins of that.
I got you.
Now I like coffee, man. You know, I don't know why y'all don't drink coffee. It's a wonderful drink.
I drink coffee every morning.
Decaf, man. It's
Nonetheless.
not coffee, man.
Nonetheless.
I don't. What do they make decaf coffee out of,
ain't
anyways?
got a
Pinto
clue.
beans.
It's
I ain't got
it's
a
a
clue.
chemical.
Is it?
Yeah, they chemically remove the caffeine.
Yeah.
Rough.
So y'all are drinking chemicals every day. Good night.
Who else drinks decaf? Blake?
Blake does. Brooke drinks decaf. CB drinks decaf. You don't drink any coffee at all. Why don't you drink coffee?
It's nasty water.
Man. YouTube, do you guys like coffee? Are you guys what's your YouTube? What is your preferred method of making coffee?
Well, Aaron Brown just commented. He said he mixes Dr. Enough with his coffee.
Oh wow, I love Dr. Enough. Nah, I wouldn't ruin it with that nasty coffee water, but
I mix Hoist with my coffee.
well, I love a Dr. Enough.
Dude, where do you even buy Dr. Enough?
Hey, don't worry about it.
Is
LV said ripped protein up off.
That's right.
Yep.
Well,
So that's kind of his take on the coffee.
We didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
What's your preferred method of making coffee, YouTube?
We
Mine.
got some French press.
Nah, French press is junk, man. The French press makes the coffee, it's too acidic.
Pour over we got here.
well, what is just your standard coffee maker?
Where'd I?
It's a
I'm hearing the
percolator.
podcast somewhere.
Oh, it's probably on my phone. It's It's a
It's called a percolator.
percolator.
Well,
Yeah.
if I was going to drink coffee,
Drip coffee.
I'd just have some Folgers in a percolator. That's what I'd do if I was going to drink coffee.
That's rough,
percolate.
buddy. That is rough.
Chemex, straight
Yeah.
black.
Yeah, the Chemex is, in my opinion, the best way that I've figured out how to make coffee at home.
John Wayne said he likes his drip coffee a day old, then he microwaves it up.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
Sound like something corn
that
would
sounds
do.
good, son. Sounds good.
That darn cowboy coffee right there, son.
Sounds good.
I cannot stand microwave warmed up coffee. I won't drink it. I ain't
Man.
poor enough to drink coffee like that.
Corn always he gets his from McDonald's in the morning. That's when he gets that egg McMuffin.
Well, Chad's so rich. I have seen him with the Chemex make a cup of coffee, and he has to pour out the first one, the whole first cup, just to
Yeah, I got to warm the glass
Exactly.
up first.
and flavor it with that
Yeah,
the rich flavor. Yeah, and then he'll drink the second one,
the second pot. Yep,
and his coffee is from some foreign country.
that's
or
the way to
something.
do it, man.
What was that, Blake, when we went down fishing? You was mashing that coffee down.
That's a French press.
Oh, okay.
Or he may have had an AeroPress.
That may have been an AeroPress. That
Mm.
little plastic cylinder.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's AeroPress.
Now that's backcountry coffee. I didn't like the AeroPress, Blake. Did you?
Yeah, it's all right.
I didn't like it. To me, you know what I didn't like about it? It had too many pieces to it. You know, it's got the filter and it's got the two different pieces to press it out, and then you got to have a cup to put it in. Backcountry coffee, now all I have is a little screen, and I grind up some coffee before I head out in the backcountry, and I just put me a spoonful of coffee grinds in that screen, and then I just pour hot water over it, just like a pour over. And I just let them grinds sit in the hot water for about a minute or so. Then I take it out.
Well, that's another thing. You're acting like the process and method is the most important thing. I thought it was the bean.
I think it's both.
Oh,
I think it's both. Yeah, you have to have a good roasted coffee bean, which Swift and Finch roast some of the best coffee I've ever had in my whole life. Would you agree with that, Blake?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Just the differences in the flavor of their beans is really, really identifiable.
Well, it's probably the freshest from the roast that you're going to get because, I mean, they roast it and then sell it in their shop and it's sold within a week.
Yeah.
So anywhere else, even if it's
Yeah. So
freshly roasted, it's still set and been, distributed and it's probably a month old.
So coffee's prone to mold. That's why all these coffee beans you get, Folgers and stuff, that stuff's, I mean, how long how old is the coffee bean from the time it's harvested to the time it makes it into your coffee pot in the Folgers bag? Like, how old is that? Because
well, less than a week.
you crack that Folgers, man, and it's like sawdust.
How important is it to worry about the mold? When my
It's
blackberries,
real important.
when my blackberries mold in the Frigidaire, I eat them. when the raspberries mold, I eat them.
You eat molded fruit.
I sure do. I'll drink milk that's spoiled 2 weeks. It's fine. It's not going to hurt
I
you.
hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, CB,
Seriously.
you may be onto something, man, because I mean, how much molded, nasty food did people eat before we wasn't having all these refrigerators, man?
Imagine what the Indians did.
I mean, have you seen, dude? I'll never forget the first time I saw a ham off of a hog that was salted. That son of a gun, you look at that thing and you're like, what in the crud is that?
Right.
Because it's just the whole leg of the hog is covered in mold. Have you ever
Mhm.
seen one, Chili?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't look edible, but then you just shave that mold off
salt cured.
and up under it
Yeah.
is good meat.
I think the important thing to mold is not to breathe it in.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, if you
I'm not
ingest
saying,
it,
Well,
it's fine.
Yeah, I'm.
well,
sure-
I'm not
I'm
not
gonna go ahead
saying,
and say if you eat it, you're probably breathing it in.
well, Yes, but that's different than like breathing in mold coming out from the ducts of your house
Yeah.
and, you know, from
Yeah.
your attic where squirrels been up there urinating and
Yeah.
whatnot like that.
So how many types of mold are there?
I ain't.
Because we're acting like there's just one type of mold.
Well, I had a long conversation with a lady yesterday at the gymnastics place, and she's got like
About
I
staphylococcus.
think a 3-year-old son, and he started having these problems, and like she said, it was like always in pain, and couldn't figure out anything that was wrong with him. And come to find out, they had a bunch of mold in their air handler,
Mm-hmm.
and it caused that boy. He's like 3 or 4 now, but he's got low muscle tone, low muscle tone. He's got tremors. He can't walk real good. Like it messed
Oh
him
my
up
gosh,
bad.
man.
And that's from inhaling it.
Yeah, and so they went and had him tested for like microtoxins, she said, and the doctor told her that was the worst case that he has ever seen
Oh, wow.
of what he had. And I
Wow.
mean, they don't know how he'll recover, but she said it was causing her to have panic attacks. And she was like, I don't ever have panic attacks. And she's like, they just came out of nowhere. But apparently that type of mold has to do with affecting it's like
Neuros.
Yeah, some
Your
kind of
neurons.
neuro mold stuff. I don't know. But she was saying there's different types of mold, and that affected them in that way.
Did it affect him worse because he was young? Maybe like
I guess
just a
so, because he's still developing.
vulnerable kid. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there are different types of mold, Blake, to be specific. Some sources say that there are over 100,000 different species of mold. All right. Some species are considered harmless, while others can cause potentially serious health effects. Stachybotryosis, is an intensely dangerous fungus. This is the most toxic type of mold right here, the Stachybotrys. Intensely dangerous, also known as black mold.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a mold species under the genus produce. They produce mycotoxins wherever they are distributed, which can cause serious infections. They usually grow on materials that contain cellulose. Isn't that like when women get fat, the ripples in their skin?
Cellulite.
Cellulose. Yeah.
Cellulose.
Ripples.
Usually grow
Cellulose.
on materials that contain cellulose, which have
Grass.
remained damp for a long period of time. The
Wet-
black mold.
Wet
Yeah.
grass.
Oh, really? It'd be on grass?
Well, I mean cellulose. I mean just plant matter.
Okay.
I know if you get black mold in the building, they tear that unit down.
Black mold is toxic.
I don't even think they try to fight it.
Well, now what about mold and the fungi? Like I heard you say fungi in there. I mean, what is that?
Mold is fungi.
So like a mushroom is mold.
I don't
That's
know.
fungi.
Have Blake look it up. Is a mushroom mold?
I mean, I wouldn't equate the
What-
two, would
what-
you?
No. Wasn't penicillin discovered from mold?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. But that's, I mean,
So that's a glutton.
Yeah, there's a lot going
well,
on.
I guess I wouldn't just go to town on some penicillin.
No, mushrooms ain't mold.
I didn't think so.
Mold is a type of fungus, but not all fungus is mold.
Huh.
Like a square rectangle type deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the type of mold right here. Penicillium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot going on with that mold, man. I mean,
Well-
mold really makes the world go round.
Well,
Think about it.
Well, I know them blackberries at Publix. If you don't eat them fast, they mold pretty quick, and it's all right to eat them. Go ahead.
well, do you pick the mold off and eat the rest of the berry? You just eat the
I
mold.
just eat it.
That's that old white kind of white growing mold. Ain't
Right.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about
Yeah.
molded bread? You eat it?
I have, but not on purpose.
Would you eat it on purpose?
I mean, if I had to, yeah.
So
But you eat the blackberries because they're expensive.
And they're good. They taste better than
Yeah.
bread anyway.
Okay.
I
Well-
like a blackberry. When you're putting it in Greek yogurt, you're just trying to kill the tartness of that Greek yogurt anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, Greek yogurt's got,
It's mold.
Yeah.
yeah, bacteria all in it.
Yeah.
They call that the gut bacteria.
That's right.
Which I
Corn
just,
sitting here and ate about 90 grams of protein in one setting right here the other day.
Golly.
Half of it was yogurt.
God.
I ate a lot of Greek yogurt too.
I like it.
So speaking of moldy bread, back when we used to have like over 100 chickens, we had a ton of chickens. Probably literally had a ton of chickens. I mean, we had so many. The whole yard was full of them. And I was poor back then too. So me and Brooke used to go around to all of these bread stores. And we would have them load all of their bread that had expired into the back of our truck. And we would fill the entire bed of the truck up with bread, expired bread. Okay. We would bring this bread home and put it in garbage cans. Now, I'm not kidding you, man.
Okay.
Some of that white bread, I'm not kidding you, it would sit in that garbage can for 8 months. And we would go out there and it would not have a speck of mold on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw a dude driving an old beat up truck, looked like your old Tacoma the other day, and he had probably 200 loaves of Wonder Bread in the back of his. He was taking that to some chickens. And yeah.
Or hogs, yeah.
Well, something. And yeah, I was sitting there thinking, like, there's no way you could eat that. Humans could eat that for the next year.
Yeah, it no mold grew on it. It was wild. I guess it had the process of making that super processed white bread had just removed any sort of life.
Well, they put so many
Or
preservatives
moisture,
in it.
oh, that's what it is, isn't it? Yeah, there's so many preservatives in it. Yep. I got that trick from TC Stewart. TC's passed on from the world these days, but TC was an interesting man. He was a real live hoarder. And so TC's the one who taught me how to collect for that bread. Now, he collected it to eat and feed his dogs and all this. I just wanted it for the chickens. But if you went down to TC's house, and some of you listeners may know TC Stewart. TC was about 72, 73 years old. He had a pack of dogs, deer dogs, but they were all different, black and tan, walker dogs, whatever. And he lived in a little bitty old camper on this tract of land that he had. And them dogs lived in and out of that camper with him. I mean, this was his clan, right? He had a bunch of chicken houses on that property for the longest time. And over the years, he had filled them slam from the bottom up, end to end, with just stuff, these massive chicken houses. And they set fire one day, and the fire department came out to put the fire out. But TC had hundreds of half full propane tanks just all over the place, and those things started exploding. So the fire department just sat there and let all his mess burn. They wouldn't put the fire out. So that all burnt down, and then he restarted. But after his chicken houses burned down, he just started piling all of his stuff up just out in the open. I went out there to visit with him one day, and he probably had 25 refrigerators sitting outside, not hooked to any power or anything. And every one of them was slap full of food. One of them was slap full of coffee. Just all the little coffee pods and bags of coffee. But each one of them had different type of, and that's what he ate out of. He just ate off of that stuff. He didn't refrigerate none of his food. He would eat all expired stuff. Nothing.
Wow.
Yeah. He was tough, man.
I bet a Frigidaire that's closed up like that outside of getting mold in it. And I don't believe that'd be the good mold.
Well, it didn't hurt him.
Wow.
It didn't hurt him a lick.
Well, we don't know how well he was doing.
I'm going to tell you how he was doing well enough that at 72 years old, whatever it's been, 4 or 5 years ago, during deer season, every day he would take that pack of dogs out. He carried an old double barrel, I think it was a Stevens 12 gauge shotgun. Now, he didn't care nothing about killing a deer. He just carried that shotgun just so people would think he was part of the hunt, you know.
Yeah.
He would take off with that herd of dogs of his, and he would walk them woods. And now I'm talking about the woods in Suffolk, Virginia, it's all cutovers. He would walk them cutovers all day long, from daylight to dark, with them dogs. And I walked with him a few days. I just wanted to see what he did, you know. And he would never stop. He'd move real slow, but he would never stop. He would just keep moving. And this joker, he was so old school, he didn't recognize property lines or nothing like that. He would just walk wherever he wanted to walk with these dogs. And he would cover 2,000-3,000 acres in a day.
Wow.
Just because he was steady moving. And them dogs, you know, they'd jump up a deer every now and then, but his dogs wouldn't run them deer far. They'd just jump them up and run them a couple 100 yards and come back to him, you know.
Right.
But yeah, that mold didn't bother him. Well, he finally passed away.
Yeah.
Just about a year ago. I still don't know what killed him. I was telling Brooke that the other day. I said, you know, somebody like TC, you just can't imagine them dying. At least not so soon. He was an interesting guy.
Did he make it to 80?
I don't know. He had to have been close. He had to have been close.
Now he had an interesting life, right? I mean, outside of what you just said.
Oh yeah. He worked for the Norfolk Naval Shipyard all his life. He traveled all over the world, man. Yeah, he was a really interesting guy. Him and his buddy's name was Zachariah. Zachariah was a one-eyed black man, and old school. Zachariah hunted year round. He didn't care about he didn't follow the seasons, but because he ate only what he hunted for. He was so poor, that was just his meat. So you'd be riding down the road in the summertime and Zachariah be sitting out there in his truck in the middle of a field deer hunting. Didn't nobody bother him. That's what the man ate. That's who we brought all our coons to. His house didn't have any heating or air conditioning. So when we'd coon hunt in the wintertime, we would kill these coons and we'd bring the coons up to his house at night and just throw them on his wood pile. He was tickled to death to have him coons to eat, man. He was tickled to death to have him coons to eat. He only came coon hunting with us one time. But, man, I'm telling you, up there in coastal Virginia, when you get out of the city, it's old time culture.
Right.
Old time. The accent's different. The hunting clubs are different. Everything, it's nothing like it is around here. The clubs out there hunt as a club. If you go out, if you're part of a hunting club in Virginia and you go out and like go deer hunting on your own, they get mad at you. Cause it's like it's a community thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're running hounds and whatnot.
Yeah. That's the only way they will hunt is running dogs.
Yeah. There's some clubs in South Georgia like that are big dog clubs. They do community hunts, especially those bear hunting clubs down in South Georgia. You don't go get the bear by yourself. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. They get upset about that.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, that's a different world out there in coastal Virginia. As a matter of fact, somebody sent me an invitation to a wedding in Windsor, Virginia. That's backwoods. I know right where Windsor's at. Yeah, I don't know if I'll thank you guys for the invitation. I don't know that I'll be making the trip, but I'll consider it. I'll have to look at the date. Well, yeah, you know, I've only ever been to 2 weddings in my life. One when I was a little kid. One of my aunts got married. And then the other wedding I went to was for a friend of Brooke's family. I've only ever been to 2 weddings in my whole life.
Including your own.
We didn't even have a wedding.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Heck, man.
I
You
know.
did have a wedding.
Yeah, it was a wedding.
Well, it was.
Don't let on like you didn't have no wedding.
Well, it was,
you had a party and everything.
It was more of just a gathering
It
of
was
people,
big,
Blake.
son.
That was a wedding, wasn't it, Corn?
He loves to say that.
Yeah.
No,
He likes to downplay all his stuff like he didn't do the traditional thing. He did it.
No,
Yeah,
Blake.
you did it.
Yeah. You had on your Navy suit and all, man. Looking sharp.
Oh,
was
well,
big.
if y'all want to call that a wedding, then I've been to 3 weddings. Then,
Yeah, you know, 3 big ones.
well, if you go to other places in the world, I was telling Cornbread this morning, they don't refrigerate the eggs or the milk. They just don't do it.
Well, I'm sure they do if it's pasteurized, homogenized, ultra filtered, all this crap we do to it, but I'm sure they're not refrigerating it. I'm sure they are if it's all that, but it's probably places that don't do none of that.
No, the pasteurization process is what allows you to store it without refrigerating it, because it kills all of the bacteria in the milk.
What?
So we don't. Yeah,
Why do we
I have no idea.
refrigerate our milk?
Same with eggs. I have no idea why we refrigerate our eggs. Nowhere else in the world refrigerates their eggs.
Yeah, I was thinking that when he said that to me, I was like, well, dang, I just believed you're supposed to refrigerate eggs because I've always seen them refrigerated.
Well, I was under the impression that I don't refrigerate fresh eggs when I get them.
No, I don't.
But I
either.
do if I get them from the store because they already refrigerated.
Exactly.
And then
I don't.
I thought that was because you bring them home and leave them out. Really?
Well, all the grocery store eggs that you buy in other countries, I can't speak for all of the countries because I haven't been to all of the countries, but they're just sitting out on the shelves. They're not in a refrigerator.
But I do buy them free range eggs from the store, so that's kind of just like chicken eggs from your house.
Well, here's what I've heard
Well,
about
yeah.
the egg thing. So apparently, a fresh egg has some sort of coating on it, and it preserves the egg.
Yeah. And
Now,
they clean that off in the store.
If you something about the process that the egg goes through to be a production grocery store egg, that coating gets washed off, and so the egg is no longer able to be preserved by the natural coating. So I wonder if they, in other parts of the world, if they don't process them differently to where they're not washing the natural coating off of the egg.
Well, surely.
Yeah.
Probably
mean-
so. They're not looking at it like, ooh, that's nasty. I better wash it. They're just looking at it as a food source.
Well, Blake, do you actually do that?
Yeah.
Well, I don't see how you can. I thought that would cause problems because they have washed that off.
I've left eggs out on the counter for 2 weeks from the grocery store.
That had been refrigerated.
Yeah,
Well, dad bum.
I just eat them like normal.
I think that we probably are overly cautious about our food preservation.
Well, I don't do it with like fresh egg, but I thought I figured it'd go bad if they had like cleaned that off in the way they process them. That's why I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
Yeah, maybe that's not true. Maybe they won't go bad. Yeah, I think we're just overly cautious about it. Do you know that there's people out there who have a phobia of meat?
A
Like-
phobia.
Yeah, like they're obsessed with they won't handle meat because they think they're going to get some sort of bacteria or sickness or something
come
from
on
the
now.
meat, like salmonella or something. Yeah, they won't handle meat. Like they won't even bring meat in their kitchen because they're so afraid they're going to get sick from raw meat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a
that's
thing.
whacked out.
It's a thing. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, Chili, but I'm pretty sure you can eat raw meat as long as it's super fresh.
Dude, that's a new wave of things. They take everything to the extremes. Veganism kind of turned into just, well, I'm gonna try to stay away from animal products to like now there's this new raw vegan and like fruitarians. I guess that's been around a while, but they won't eat nothing They won't eat certain vegetables because that's considered a living plant. Just fruit, like the actual fruit off of a flower, like you're not killing nothing. Vegetable, you're killing something. Fruit, you're actually not even killing anything. So they'll just straight up only eat raw fruit, won't cook it, nothing. And then the other thing with meat, like the other extreme, okay, people started moving towards a more ketogenic diet, high, a lot of meat. Well, then you've seen the carnivore, like I am just only eat meat. And some people have taken that to where, well, I'm only going to eat meat raw. Literally raw meat is all I will consume because for the same reasons as all the other ketogenic carnivore, but raw because you get even more nutrients. You don't cook any of it out. You don't cook it at high temperatures and maybe kill some of the B vitamin or whatever.
Yeah.
But
so you can then.
Well, I mean, I've watched people do it or seen people document for years at a time now, and supposedly all they're doing is exclusively raw meat, and they're still living.
Yeah, like say you was an old nasty Indian, you were starving to death. You killed a deer. You was like legitimately starving to death. You could just cut a piece of that meat out and just eat it raw.
Well, that's only if you're an old nasty Indian.
Yeah.
If you were a clean Indian or an American, they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I didn't know people were still doing that.
As them folks eat that bear meat that ain't cooked all the way or mountain lion, and they get
trichinosis.
Trichinosis.
Yeah.
Get that from hog too.
Yeah, you get all kinds of stuff from hogs, rickets, and everything else.
Yeah.
I ain't eating now raw meat.
Jake leg.
I mean,
that bear meat, man, that ain't hardly worth eating anyways.
Yeah. That's around with that hog meat.
But then there's people that get bit by them ticks that gets that bacteria that makes them allergic to eating red meat.
That's fairly common.
Yeah.
Well, I will.
Lyme disease?
No, it's I don't know what the scientific term is for it, but I mean it's like some people are deathly allergic. Just all of a sudden you've been bit by a tick, and then 2 months later or whatever, you bite into a hamburger and you go into shock.
Yeah, they go into anaphylactic shock.
I went to high school with a guy who had that.
It's not a super rare thing.
I mean,
I had a guy in my hunting club that had it.
He ate meat all the time, and then I remember one day we were talking, and he was like, "I can't eat that." And I was like, "Why?" He said he got bit by a tick. All of a sudden, couldn't eat it. Just straight up couldn't eat it. Kill him.
There ain't that many ticks up here in North Georgia.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, there ain't that many. I mean, dude, where I was living in Virginia by the Great Dismal Swamp, it was ungodly.
Yeah.
I mean, you would go coon hunting and you'd come back and you'd have no joke, you'd have sometimes 20 ticks on you. But I don't get that many ticks on me up here.
I think they used to be worse.
Yeah, this year's been a light year.
I remember turkey hunting, and almost every time I'd come back, I'd have 2, 3, 4 ticks on me.
Yeah.
Sometimes more than that.
Maybe from year to year. Yeah.
They used to be worse at the house here. I mean, like they've lessened.
Yeah, a lot of
possums have, the possum population just went up.
The earth is changing, man.
Oh yeah.
The weird things are happening. Look, do you not remember when you were a kid walking outside in the summertime at night?
Bugs.
Well, I still see June bugs, but
I don't.
But lightning bugs.
Yeah.
There ain't hardly no lightning bugs left. I remember being a kid, man, you would walk out in the summertime in the night, and the whole darn place, there'd be just hundreds of thousands of lightning bugs.
It ain't time for them yet.
They ain't as thick as they are, Blake.
I agree with that.
What I remembered the most when I was a kid, when it would come up a cloud in the summertime, those evening thunderstorms after it would rain, there would be these humongous bullfrogs that just come out when it was coming up a cloud or be like right under a cloud. And I can't even tell you the last time I seen one of them big fat bullfrogs.
You don't see them anymore.
It's like 20 something years since I've seen one of them huge bullfrogs. They're gone.
I've caught one in my life.
Really?
And I caught it in the Toccoa River when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
No kidding, man. Maybe there are still June bugs down here, but I used to go outside in the summertime, really July, and they would be so thick in the air, you just grab them, catch them all the time. And I used to put them on strings and everything. I ain't been able to do that for 20 years.
Well, let me tell you,
15 years.
Two things else that are gone.
What?
Click beetles and roly polies.
Yeah.
Roly
Man, that's
polies
a
are
good
gone.
point.
Yeah.
That's a
You
good
remember them
point.
click beetles we used to play with?
Oh yeah, there used to be click beetles everywhere,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and roly polies used to be thick as ants.
It is funny, man. If you just go out into your normal woods, just where you typically go, yeah. If you think back 15 years ago or whenever, for me, there's like it's just covered in everything. Now it's barren.
Yeah, the earth is changing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now you've got this bloom of red-eyed cicadas. I mean, talk about that, Blake.
Yeah, they came up from the depths of hell. Them
Yeah.
things, 17 years they've been working their way up here. And son, they come up with a growl.
Yeah.
They come up with a growl. They're all over at my house.
These
Got red eyes, and
yeah,
you get up on them and they make their noise, and it's like, but it's so quiet. And you think, how many of these things do they have to be out there for this to make this noise? That's like, if you're outside for like a couple hours, you'll go in your ears.
Making all kinds of racket.
they are
Yeah.
deafening, and these cicadas are producing a different tone than what we are used to hearing in a Georgia summertime too. It's a different tone of sound. I don't know what this means, guys.
Did you see where them frogs were? It was raining frogs in Texas.
No, I didn't see that.
I mean, I'm not even joking. They were literally falling from the sky like it was raining frogs. These big old and apparently, the explanation was it was around the time of them hurricanes in Texas, and like somehow they were getting blown up into the. But like what? I don't.
Frogs. Only frogs were getting blowed up.
Yeah, how about
Thank
that?
you.
Up in the air.
Thank you. I mean, I kind of tried to follow the explanation, and I mean,
Right.
okay, but then it's just frogs.
Wow.
Where was the
Everything else.
lizards? I mean, why are we just raining frogs?
Yeah, I don't really
You thought
accept
it'd have
that
been-
explanation.
Like a Sharknado too.
Yeah. Yeah. Sharknado only sucks up sharks.
Yeah.
Well,
see,
that
so
is
it-
true. I mean,
You might have
That's
been
a
a frog.
frog-nado.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not good. I mean,
Oh yeah, that's what Brandy said on here. It's a frognado.
Yep. Frognado. I'm telling you, I've seen it.
it's changed a lot just in a short period of time.
I know where the frogs went. They're in the clouds.
That's true. It's full of bullfrogs. All the bullfrogs
That's
are in
right.
the clouds.
That's
That's
right.
I
Well,
didn't think about
I
that.
have heard that those bullfrogs are very sensitive to the water quality because their skin is semi-permeable. And so if the waterway starts to become polluted, it actually kills all of those big monster bullfrogs.
Yeah. So the ones that I would have been seeing when I was little would be from the Altoona watershed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that thing's got show enough good and polluted.
So the frog skin's kind of like a frog tog.
Yeah, semi-permeable.
Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Well, all right, guys, welcome to the show. So if you guys don't know this, if you're one of our patrons, there's a benefit to being on Patreon, and we're going to start leaning into this in the future. And I named it something like influence the conversation. We have a lot of really good, awesome people in our Patreon community, and I want them to start influencing the conversations that we have. So we're going to take a question every week from our Patreon members, and also we're going to allow them to, or we're going to not allow them, we're going to ask them to contribute to what types of content that they want to see, both privately on Patreon and also on YouTube, which, by the way, where YouTube is really making it difficult for us to produce the type of content that we do produce. And I am personally about sick and tired of having to degrade the quality of the content that I put out, or we put out for you guys, to accommodate YouTube's narrative. And so all of the content that you see on a major social media platform, I want you can only, you wouldn't know this unless you were seeing it from the behind the scenes, like we see it as the creator of the content. Everything that you see is first passed through YouTube's filter. So all the content that you see has to be in alignment with whatever their filter is. Now, this is a strange thing because YouTube is supposedly a private company. You would imagine that a private company would be interested in profit as long as they weren't breaking any laws, right? You would imagine that a private company would be most interested in giving their customer the type and quality of content that they're seeking, which would then drive up their profits. But that's not the way any of these social media companies work, which leads me to believe that the government heavily influences and manipulates all of these social media companies. I would go as far as to theorize that the government is actually in control, if not outright owners of all of these social media companies. And they are just putting these individuals out front as the owners and portraying them as private companies. But here's the thing. These social media platforms, you have to already understand this. They are influencing the way that you think and the way that you perceive the world around you. And they are not feeding you. They are feeding you content that you want, but they're feeding you that content once it's passed through their filter and it fits their agenda in order to manipulate your thinking so that you think, okay, I like this that I'm watching here, but you don't understand how heavily edited it is and how much companies like us have to even change the words we use, have to delete segments of videos, can't show you things that are legal, perfectly within the boundaries of the law. But we can't show you things because it immediately gets restricted as soon as we upload it to the platform. And I just think that it's good to at least shed some light on the fact that everything that you're seeing from this platform and pretty much all the rest is being filtered, and it is influencing the direction of your thinking according to how the platform wants it to influence your thinking, if that makes any sense to you. It's hard to realize this unless you see it from the backside and you realize then how much censorship is being placed upon certain types of content, especially revolving around firearms, preparedness, things, just really life skills. I mean, it's pretty astounding. And so there's been so many occasions, especially now as the channel grows, where we can't make the content that we want to make for you. And that's really frustrating because we go out and film a video, and I want you to understand that for us to create a 15-minute video, there's about 6 hours worth of work into creating a 15-minute video, especially if we're going out on the range. By the time we plan it, by the time we prepare, set up, film, edit, upload, and post, it's about 6 hours worth of work to create that little short video for you that you see. And it's frustrating when you put all that work in and then you upload it to this daggone platform here and it gets restricted. And it's not even about the monetization of the video. When YouTube restricts a video, they restrict its reach. They're not going to let you see it if it's not according to their agenda, if it doesn't pass through their filter. And so we have really been leaning into our Patreon platform. One, because if I have 6 hours of work into a 15-minute video, it's got to at least pay for itself. It's got to. It's just not sustainable if it doesn't at least pay for itself. And two, because you just get to the point where you're like, okay, we can cut up and joke on YouTube, but if we want to talk about something serious and meaningful, well, we need to have a place to do that. And at least thus far, Patreon has not restricted anything that we want to put out to our patrons. So that's what that's all about. Do you agree with that, Chili? I mean, you're the wizard.
Agree with what part of it? Just as a whole?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say so. I could pick at tiny details of it. I mean,
I'm not saying don't use YouTube. I mean, you're not going to listen to me anyways. I mean, it's
I'm not going to listen.
No, I mean, I use YouTube if I want to look up how to change my drum brakes or something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, no, first of all, I would say I don't think the government is in control of the social media companies. I think the social media company, I would say neither statement is accurate, but it's more accurate to say the social media companies are in control of the government.
Oh, okay.
But what I really mean by that is I think there's the same figures that control the social media companies are the same figures that control the government and vice versa. Like, it's not like even one controls the other. They just work in tandem to do what they do. They're both, the government it doesn't control anything. It's just a cog in the machine. People think it is the machine. It is a cog in the overall machine. And that's kind of a fundamental change in your thinking about it to, I think, help understand some of these things. Is the government is not the machine. It's a cog in the overall machine. And, Eric Schmidt was the CEO of Google for a long time, and now it's Sundar Pichai. And YouTube is owned by Google. So it is not, I mean, yes, it's a privately owned company, right? Well, not really. Like Google is, or actually, it's not even Google, it's Alphabet, right? And then Google is technically kind of underneath Alphabet, and YouTube is owned by Google, and Google is this freaking conglomerate that controls the world. I mean, I wouldn't even call it a company. Like, what a crap is Google?
I know, it's wild.
I mean, man. It's everything. Google, Alphabet, it is, that's not a company. I mean, 307 Project is a company.
Yeah, it's
Barbell Apparel is a company. I mean, Google is this.
It's the most massive intelligence gathering platform that's ever been devised in the history of humanity. Like, of course it's gonna be leveraged in like infinite ways to control the narrative of all of society, to spy on what you are doing, to do. I mean, in so many different ways, man.
Yeah, and I think that is what is going on. Google or Alphabet, let's, I guess, be more accurate, and Apple are the two. I mean, they're huge, and they work together, and they work with all of these players in the government and out of the government. And the purpose of it is for exactly what you said. It's an intelligence gathering operation, and it's a mass manipulation operation. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what it's supposed to do. It's what it's like. Was it designed to do that? I mean, I don't even get too far into that, man. Like, what MySpace and Facebook, like some of the first social media companies of those types, was that created to do what it's doing now? I don't really know. Don't really care.
Yeah,
it is doing it now. I don't know the intent of whoever really created those platforms and what their goal really was with it. You know, everyone loves the story of Zuckerberg at Harvard starting Facebook. He stole it from those Winklevoss twins, and now there it went. Now it's Meta, and they own Instagram. Well,
I don't even believe that story.
That's what I'm saying. I don't either, but it could be true. I don't care. Like, it doesn't even matter if that's how it started or if it started by some, crazy government operation, if you will, to do what it's doing now. I don't really care. It is doing that now. without a doubt. And you can see that it's doing that now. And it's not even just the algorithms that are doing that, but because a lot of people look at Rumble and they say, oh, well, I think there's supposed to be no suggested content, no algorithm to drive you a certain way. You know, like when you watch a video of, you know, a documentary on the pyramids on YouTube, if you start off a new YouTube account and you watch that first video, you will get fed that content like crazy. And that's just the algorithm trying to work to show you what you want to see. But there's also a piece of the algorithm and a piece that Rumble or any other social media platform could do, and that is suggest like feed you ads of any sort. I mean, maybe Rumble doesn't do it right now, whatever, but they can show you whatever they want to show you, even if it's not suggested content. They can put messages out that they want to. Rumble controls creators to some degree. They have their own. They can tell them what to say. Why do you think they wouldn't do that? I mean, you can be manipulated and are manipulated in an ungodly amount of ways.
It's powerful, dude.
And
it's powerful.
You know, the SPARS pandemic scenario and the Johns Hopkins Institute, the Johns Hopkins University, you can find it online. SPARS pandemic scenario, should be able to find it. Might do a little digging, but it literally, the whole point of that, when talking about how the pandemic will be utilized, is through social media. I mean, it literally creates, it's a scenario, right? So it creates a fake, a simulated scenario driven pandemic that is then controlled by the government through social media. And it comes, I forget what it was called, the fake account, you know, the fake platform that does this. And we put messages out on here. I mean, that is what they're doing. And that is what they're going to lean into a lot more heavily. But you saw it with all of the platforms on this last go around. I mean, you see, you can make your profile photo with the filter that says wear a mask and all this stuff. I mean, it's all done that way. Mm-hmm. You can't avoid it. You put a post out that's against their agenda, they can take it down and will. They put flags on everything that was centered around that. And then they shove their narrative in your face. People don't think that affected them. Look, man, I don't know how many people would have been against the narrative for the past 4 years if you had sat them down before it all started and you said, this is what's going to happen. Let me give you a picture of this. You for that. Some people would say yes. Of course they would. But 90% of the people that went along with it would not have if you had showed it to them in that way. They were slowly, bit by bit, slowly integrated and manipulated into the agenda. It took time. And they sucked at it, right? They were logically inconsistent the whole way through. They'd say one thing, then do the other, say one thing, do the other. It didn't matter. They were told what to do. Social media platforms will continue to tell you what to do subtly and not so subtly. It works both ways. People have a hard time seeing either one. So, yeah, I agree with you. That's what's being done.
Yeah, man.
But Patreon's there is no safe platform. You're not going to go to Rumble or Patreon and everything's safe and taken care of.
Yeah.
I mean, there's already cases of people being taken off of Patreon that certain individuals who went as far as to be completely removed from YouTube, then they try to make a Patreon account and they won't allow them. So thank God they're not doing it now.
Yeah, it's been great so far. I mean, so that's anyways. This is a question from one of our patrons, Justin Jordan. I'm sure Blake has put much thought into this. Blake, Justin's wanting to buy a Geisley Super Duty rifle. Do you recommend the 16 or the 14.5? Is one better than the other? Specifically for the tactical games, I am running the 16-inch barrel. What do you think, Blake?
Yeah, I mean, I would, if it was me, I would just do the 16-inch barrel because the 14.5, you have to have the flash hider pinned and welded so that it's 16-inch legally, the barrel. And then at that point, you might as well just get the extra 1.5 inches of barrel to gain what little bit of speed you're going to gain, and then you can also pull the whatever you've got on, flash hider, or
Whatever muzzle device,
brake, whatever you're going to put on there. You can change it easily instead of taking it to a gunsmith and having it lathed off and then the new one pinned and welded. So I don't know why people do the 14.5 inch you save like an inch of length, which is negligible. It doesn't even make any sense. So I would definitely do the 16-inch.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would definitely do the 16-inch too, for the same reasons Blake is talking about. You can change your muzzle device, which is important if in the future you want to run a suppressor,
a noise dampening
device.
A
noise dampening device.
Yeah, that's a way to say it.
If you want to run one of those, you're going to have a specific muzzle device to be able to integrate that onto your rifle. You may want to run a muzzle brake versus a flash hider. So there's a lot of benefits to being able to swap that out easily. And then as far as performance goes on the rifle, you do get more velocity and also more energy out of that 5.56 round the longer the barrel is. So you're going to get a little better performance and a little better accuracy and a little more knockdown power, as us rednecks say, out of the 16 versus the 14.5 inch barrel. And the longer you go, the better that gets. For the tactical game specifically, it is primarily precision shooting. So the whole idea of a shorter barrel on a rifle is it makes the rifle easier to wield in a close quarters environment. So if you're clearing a house or a ship or something like that, and you're taking relatively close shots, I mean, most shots you're taking in a CQC environment are 7 to 10 yards, I mean, across a room. And so unless you're in, you can have an upper receiver that's set up specifically for close quarters battle, but if you're doing anything outside where you're taking longer shots or precision shots, you definitely want the longer barrel. And 16 inches, I mean, I would even go as far as to say for the tactical games, it wouldn't be wrong to get an 18-inch barrel on your rifle, just because you get that better accuracy, especially out at long range. And the tactical games it does revolve around precision shooting. So the more error that you can remove in terms of your rifle and the more accurate you can make your rifle, well, then that's just less that compounds on the error that you bring into the equation as the shooter. So yes, I say 16-inch, and the Geissele Super Duty is the rifle that Blake and I are both shooting. We both really like that rifle. I'm still loving mine. As a matter of fact, I need to get out and shoot this week. I'm running out of time. But that's a great question. Good rifle, 16-inch. That's the way to go. If you want to go longer, then that's the direction I would go. I wouldn't go shorter personally.
I think you gain between like 25 to 50 feet per second per inch of barrel.
Yeah. Right here, I'm looking with a 55 grain projectile on a 16-inch barrel. Looking at 3,132 feet per second with a 14.5, 3,064 feet per second. So you're not losing a bunch. I mean, performance is fairly negligible between those two. But yeah, the ability to change the muzzle device is the biggest benefit, I think.
Yeah.
So,
and you can't have a muzzle brake at the tactical games either. So
no, it's just got to be a regular old flash hider. So good question, man. You guys that are on Patreon, again, start sending those in. Once a week, we're going to get around to them. All right. I got to hit the head. Let's take a little break and we'll be back.
Put these jokers on mute. All right, we're back on.
105.25.
Yeah, Blake, you'll have to edit out our break on the audio version. You think you can handle that?
Nah, I'll just leave it in there.
All right. I'll tell you what, you guys are like a bunch of freaking wet dish rags today as co-hosts.
I had a question. Kind of goes along the lines of what we've been talking about. I was wondering if y'all knew how they made corrugated cardboard.
Well, that's not the direction that we're going with this podcast.
I ain't got a clue, Blake.
Okay.
Well,
That's the direction we've been on. So I was just wondering if we wanted to continue along the path, we could talk about that kind of
you
stuff.
guys are like a bunch of wet dish rags
I think we've done stellar.
on this
Well, I
podcast,
do know it's
man.
corrugated cardboard. It is created by combining and pressing several layers of paper together. And it's a process called fluting that makes them
And they use
ridges, the lining.
use pulpwood for that.
Pulp
Probably.
wood. Yeah, they do.
Cardboard and paper sacks attract cockroaches.
They do.
Probably a mold too.
Yeah, a bad mold.
Well, I want to get you. Look, now y'all got. I'll tell you what, man. You guys are really something else.
1 foot on the line, little
I
Virgil
mean-
said.
Yeah. Thank you, LV.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Heard that.
Now look,
Word.
I really want to get to the bottom of this. I posted a truck talk yesterday about not leaving all your money in the bank.
Oh, dang, man.
All right.
I have an idea for us about that, but I can't say it publicly.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying I'm not saying you ought to just empty your whole bank account, but you know, some of y'all can't even put your hands on a $20 bill, man. I mean, it's rough. And I made a video about that. And I talked about how, all the old country people, a lot of the old country people, they do all their dealing in cash. And I talked about the reason many of them do all their dealing in cash is because they remember the Great Depression when the banks defaulted and they couldn't get they couldn't get their dang money out of the bank. That's why so many of these freaking old folks have just cash money stashed in places that they've just saved up throughout their life. And, there's so many different opinions on there. Everybody talking about, cash is worthless and you got to buy gold and you got to buy silver and you got to buy Bitcoin. And I am still of the thought that you want cash, man. That's now there's so many people argue with that, but I just wanted to get y'all's input on this dilemma here.
Well, my thinking would be that's all in the assumption of when, not will, when the crap hits the fan. How long does one think that said currency is really going to be worth anything? Is it 2 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 6 years? Is it till whenever it gets straightened back out? That probably won't ever get straightened back out to begin with. I don't know how long money would be good anyhow. I really don't. So if a major depression was to happen and the people that can't get their hands on a $20 bill, there's been 2 or 3 times in the past 2 or 3 years, I'd go to the bank to get like $7,000 out. And they look at you like you got a swastika painted on your face.
Oh yeah.
They're like, "Oh, you're gonna have to call. Like next time, call, and we'll have that ready for you, tomorrow or the next day."
People don't understand that about banks either.
Dude,
they don't hold your money.
They would be such a mad rush to the bank and to the ATM. You might as well forget it.
That's what would collapse them.
Right. So you might as well forget even having it. So what do you have then is of value, period. Like there's going to be more people without money than there will be with money. So how valuable actually will be money to somebody who can, tote 500 telephone poles down the road and help get a bridge built or something like that? I don't really know. If you're really looking at it in the grand sense of you better have some money, how long is that going to be good for? You may want to spend your time doing something else, figuring something else out.
Well, during the Great Depression, the value of the dollar actually increased. If you had money a currency that you could put your hands on, it was worth more.
Do you think it would now with the amount of,
I think it would.
You think so?
Yeah,
with the amount of people and that's in the world now and so on and so forth, you believe it would? You believe it would sustain long enough as it did during the Great Depression? I think if something like that comes again, it's going to be something way worse than the Great Depression. I think it's going to be a big major worldly event. I don't think cash is going to matter very long. I really don't. I do think it's a good idea to have your money where you can get it. Because like you said, the bank they ain't got your money. They ain't got your money. The only thing that has your money is that app on your phone that says how many dollars you're supposed to be able to get
man.
when you watch. So I'm not saying you don't need to worry about that or you shouldn't do that. I agree. You definitely should have your money, but I'm just not confident that it's going to be worth much very long anyway.
What do you think about that, Chili?
Well, the inflation and the value of the dollar. Yes, if another depression happened and you talk about a repeat of the Great Depression, well, will the value of the dollar increase? Well, yes, that's not even a matter of opinion. That's a scarcity issue. Okay, there's less people with dollars. There's less dollars. Why is it being devalued now? There's more dollars. They're printing more dollars. And then all of a sudden it's basically like they just fall off the face of the earth. Well, then yes, your dollar is worth more. There's less of it. Less people have it. You have less access to it. Yes, it is now worth more. Now, I mean, that's why I've always questioned people talking about the devaluing of the dollar. Like there's 2 ways to devalue the dollar. There's devaluing the dollar in relation to other currencies, and there's devaluing of the dollar within your country. a lot of people talk about it in that fashion, thinking, okay, the value will be the dollar is worthless. The dollar, it's just going to be worthless in this country. Well, yeah, that's what's happening when they print more and more money, but that will, I mean, through a depression, that's going to correct. And what all comes along with that depression, I don't know. Like, the most pertinent point to me when you ask, what do you do right now? Well, that depends on what's coming. I'd do a heck of a lot of different things if you told me the doomsday looked like this than if it looked like this. I mean, you got to know what doomsday looks like to prep for doomsday. There's a lot of different ways doomsday could go. There's a heck of a lot. So you have to then think, well, what is the most likely thing that's going to set me up for success? And in my opinion, I'm in total agreement if you say it's to get your hands on cash, because everyone also talks about, man, money will be worthless when the crap hits the fan. You're just going to want ammo. Well, okay, yeah, do as well as you can now to get ammo. What if you ain't got it when the crap hits the fan? How you going to get it?
Yeah.
With freaking cash, man. That's how you're going to get it then too.
Yeah.
Because guess what it is at the end of the day? It's a medium. It's a means of exchange, right? It's a bartering tool. It's all it is at its core. It will be stripped down to exactly what the daggum dollar is worth when the crap hits the fan.
Mm-hmm.
In certain scenarios. You'll go to this dude who has a lot of ammo and say, hey, man, everything's crashed, but I got this medium of exchange that we've all agreed upon and everyone still has and everyone still uses. And you know what a $20 bill means. I will give you this for that ammo in this scenario. What's he going to do? Turn down your 20? Maybe, because he wants the ammo. It may be worth more to him. But what I'm saying is how you going to get it without money? That's the only way you're going to get it. If you're going to get it, what are you going to offer him?
You might could offer to hoe his garden for him.
Yeah, well, that'll probably work out well for you. What are you going to do? When the crap hits the fan, all of our plans are to be indentured servants.
Do you think the ratio to people that's going to have money versus what had money in the Great Depression is the same? And the morals and integrity are nowhere near the same as what they were in the Great Depression.
100% that's true. And also, like, let me get back to the point of the scenarios talking about when crap hits the fan, I'll go barter with this. How much bartering do you actually think is going to go on?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Probably not that much.
I think.
Well, I'll go bring a sack of oranges to this fella because I want some of his 5.56. Probably ain't gonna happen like you think it's gonna happen in the hunky dory crap hits the fan scenario.
He might just kill you and take your oranges.
I mean, like what do you think crap hits the fan looks like? Basically, everything goes down. The internet goes down. I don't have Wi-Fi no more. I can't go to the gas station and pump gas, but my neighbor down the street is real interested in giving me his 5.56 for my daggum sack of oranges. Well, that's what you think it looks like.
Yeah, but it goes the same way. All that goes down, but my neighbor down the road has a stack of cash. Like we can't even tote it in our backpack. He's got so much, but there ain't nowhere for us to go spend it or buy it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it would be amongst other people.
Yeah.
If, like I said, if that'll even work.
Well, what it looks like is when them hurricanes hit down there and lawlessness abounds and people just go to busting into them stores and taking whatever they want and robbing people's houses that ain't there and I mean, people's going to do whatever they feel like they got to do. They ain't trying to do things. Now you buddy, like, hey, Cornbread's good at working on cars and I can protect him. Hey, Corn, I mean, you might not have a car, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
My car's broke down. Me and you's buds. I'll watch your house, if you'll fix my car for me. You might do that with your buddies.
Yeah. And what it looks like to me is sort of like what James Ward was saying. I guess he was in Haiti when them hurricanes hit. And the community band together and said, all right, buddy, we're tired of y'all taking everybody all the stuff. Whoever's coming through here is about to give us something.
Yeah.
You implement your own tax, basically.
Yeah.
You got to come through our roads. You're going to give us some stuff.
If you want to assign a value to everything in this and create a hierarchical structure of crap hits the fan items, that's how I would recommend doing it. What is the all scenarios, regardless of what crap hits the fan actually means or looks like, what is the most basic thing that you say, that's what I need, regardless of what it looks like? What would that be to you?
Food and water.
Food and
Would
water.
be the most immediate thing.
So then all you can't go back in time and you can't look to the future. So what do you do right now then? If that's the one need to be taken care of when crap hits the fan, regardless of what type of crap hits the fan? Well, figure out how to grow food, figure out how to hunt, figure out your water plan, figure out how to purify, figure out whatever you need for food and water. You can pretty much take care of that as well as you can. Then what? Okay. Well, let me just start with this too. Bitcoin.
Oh, that is the biggest freaking scam.
There's
on
not
earth.
a crap hits the fan scenario where you need a Bitcoin.
That is the
there ain't one.
biggest scam I've ever seen. No, not that I've ever seen.
No.
But
there's not one.
It's a big one.
There ain't one scenario where you need a Bitcoin.
Me and Chile have high intel that Bitcoin was started for the cartels to move their cash. You remember the dude we was talking to about that?
Do I remember him?
Yeah.
He's on speed dial.
Exactly. Bitcoin ain't worth nothing.
Yeah, y'all Bitcoin people, y'all are a bunch of daggone smooth brain ids, man.
Well, everyone likes to talk about it's become a cute buzzword now to talk about central bank digital currencies. Well, what do you that's all I'll say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so cash falls somewhere in the middle of that to me. There's plenty of scenarios where you can look and say, okay, cash would still be valuable in this, and plenty where it ain't. But create a daggum hierarchy. To me, having food and water plan and skills and ability, that's at the top. Below that, ammo. Cash is somewhere in between. At the very bottom of everything that people worry about is your daggum Bitcoins and what your bank statement
Cash
says.
or gold.
Yeah, gold.
I don't buy.
Gold is at the bottom, man. It's slightly above Bitcoin.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about that. I don't buy into the whole gold and silver thing. I just don't buy into it, man. Nope. The whole value of that, again, that stuff it's no different than how we place value on cash. It's not inherently valuable. It's not inherently valuable.
It's not a usable resource, but it has been valuable since as long as.
Well, so is cash.
Well, not American dollars, but the gold has, as far back as you have history, like gold was valuable and used to decorate.
But the value is not inherent. The value is manipulated or is determined by whatever. Like I could say your gold coin to me is only worth, one piece of bread. Like,
yeah, I mean,
there's nothing inherently valuable about it.
You're talking about in an apocalyptic scenario and everybody's are like animals fighting to live. Well, yeah, then of course gold's no good. But ever since not ever since there's been humans probably, but for a long time, humans become somewhat civilized and have order, and then they start working their way up on what is valuable. Yep. And usually it's whatever is hardest to get their hands on is what's most valuable. And I guess gold has just always been a rare thing to, something relatively rare to get your hands on. But yeah, I mean, if you think about things in the Mad Max or whatever, the videos they make, like, yeah, well, of course, then you need transportation and probably some guns and ammo, and food and water. But that's like you're saying what is valuable to a deer. Yeah. That's what you're asking.
Well, yeah,
a deer doesn't care about gold, but he does.
That's a lot of scenarios, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it could be.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many that you could choose from. And also if you want to talk about what's inherently valuable now, like I would rather have cobalt than gold. I'd rather fill my bathtub
it's usable
with cobalt.
Yeah.
Like when the crap really hits the fan, well, no, it's about as useless as anything else. But right now, or certain scenarios, no, if I had a bathtub full of cobalt, I'd be rich. If I had a bathtub full of gold, really don't even that much matter. Yeah. But man, I'd like a bathtub full of them chips or semiconductors.
Yeah.
Like I'd like that, but once again, when does that even matter to have?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the root of all this, you have to get down to what is the level of destruction that you're anticipating.
That's the question.
That's what you have to get down to.
Well, just something that's simple. One day, the mighty internet is going to mess up.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to take control of it. Somebody's going to do something that incapacitates it for however long.
Yep.
2 days, 2 weeks, 2 years. If you ain't got now cash, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not going. If a tornado hits your community and totally destroys it for a solid week, it would be good for you to have some cash. If you ain't got now power, the fuel pumps are out, you got to go 2 towns over to get gas, blase, whatever it may be. It would be good for you to have some cash. If you got to go to the emergency room or whatever and pay, or the urgent care and pay, and their intranet is down, they're not going to let you pay with the blood they drawed from you.
Yep.
They ain't going to bill you. You got to pay for it. It would be good to have some cash, and that's more than $200 or $300 or $500.
Yep. That's more. That's more realistic to me.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's more where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Like that's more that's the realistic scenario that I'm coming from.
Well, what happens if you think that's realistic, and I do too, the internet's killed for a week, worldwide or countrywide, whatever, even just region wide. Well, what does that cause?
Yeah, exactly.
What is the fallout from that, though?
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't real orderly.
No.
I don't know if it just descends into how quickly it descends into cutting off heads, but it ain't going to be.
That would vastly depend on where you live.
Yeah.
The fallout would vastly depend on where you live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the fallout in Atlanta, if it's just killed.
Holy crow, man.
I can't even.
Holy crow, dude.
It'd be wild. I mean,
just for a day.
I can't really imagine it, though.
No.
I mean, I don't exactly know what it would really look like, because I think a half a day people are just shocked and they just sit in the fetal position in their house. But then, when you get into 2 or 3 days, I mean, something's got to be done. Like, people got to eat. People ain't got no cash. People got to do something. So I don't know. I don't know what it looks like, but it ain't good. And like you're saying, these types of realistic scenarios, if you don't have cash and you don't have, like, that's the thing. You don't, like, people think they have cash because they have a number on a screen. No, like you say, hands-on.
Yeah.
Dollar bills. You need that.
Yeah. And you also have to think, people are so bought into this gold and silver.
Yeah.
No one is used to using that as a form of currency.
No.
So like the scenarios Cornbread's talking about, you go down to buy your groceries and the internet's out. The lady at the register ain't going to take your gold.
No, they're not going to take your ammo. They're not going to take
your
your gun.
They're going to take they'll take cash, because that's just what we use as a society to trade with.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes they won't even take your cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the most likely thing that someone is going to take as a form of payment, even in the midst of chaos, is cash.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think it drives the when we were at the airport that time and I tried to hand them that $20 bill at that restaurant at that in that airport?
Isn't it funny that that's illegal, but it doesn't matter?
But dude, why take the credit card but not the cash?
Yeah, I have no idea. The cash was dirty.
They wouldn't take my cash,
that
right?
Was coronavirus.
Am I imagining that?
Yeah, no, they wouldn't.
I mean, that's what the card represents.
Yeah, the cash was dirty, though. They wouldn't handle it.
I mean, so you also have to have that in your mind that
hand me that Bible, Cornbread.
That's going on, and the push to the bitcoins and the cryptocurrencies and stuff. I mean, personally, I think there will be manipulation with the internet and, turn it off. And you see what I think are stress tests with like AT&T all the time, shutting down service. And I mean, of course, that could legitimately go.
Shut down corn service all the time.
Yeah. Of course, that could legitimately happen, right? You have an outage or something, but I think that's intentionally done at times just to.
Oh, yes, like when they cut the Colonial Pipeline off.
Yep.
And they blamed it on the Russians. They
100%.
They intentionally done that. They wanted to see how I guarantee you it was
Thank
a
you.
test to see how much gas the current gas stations were holding
That's
at a
it.
specific time,
That was part of it.
and how long it would take for those reserve tanks to go down at
Yep.
the current state of the area. That's exactly what that was.
There's all kinds of stress tests like that, man. There's rolling blackouts and there'll be rolling internet outages, but ultimately the push isn't to a society that's, the push is to a cashless society. So this should also be brought up, in my opinion, because this is how your cash will be worthless. Actually, we're moving to a cashless society. So yes, these scenarios are crap hits the fan scenarios. Well, ultimately, as throughout history, chaos will occur. But when you're really orchestrating something fine-tuned, like I believe all of this has been orchestrated, there has to be a clearly defined goal, and then you have to execute that goal with as minimized chaos as possible, even while carrying out things like killing a lot of people. Has to be done in an orderly fashion, as orderly as possible. And the goal is clearly a cashless society, like I talk about the airport won't even take your cash. That's where central bank digital currencies and cryptocurrencies come in. You will be forced to not, you will be forced not to be able to use cash. They won't take it. So that's why really at the end of the day, saying cash is worthless will actually be true, is because it will be made to be worthless. It will stop being taken by entities or companies that are forced not to, like, you can't take it. And the strong arm of the government will come down and say, you can't take it, and people will abide. That's why cash is going to ultimately be worthless.
Yeah.
And
It's actually pretty simple.
it's real
Pretty
simple.
simple to see that scenario. Yeah. I think that's a more likely scenario for a far more likely and realistic scenario for cash becoming worthless
That's how it
than the whole apocalyptic collapse and Joe Dirt down there won't take your cash for his beans
yeah.
because your cash is worthless in comparison to his beans. What Chili's saying is, I think, what is ultimately going to happen. But until that happens, there is nothing with the buying power of cash that exists.
Agreed.
It's so funny how many people make the statement that cash is worthless. And it's like, okay, buddy. Well, I can literally go out and prove you wrong right now. Like at this moment, I can go to the grocery store and prove you wrong. Like you are that is a fool would say that statement. Like, so yeah, I think that's the more likely scenario, what you're talking about.
I've never heard anybody say that has a lot of cash, by the way.
Yes.
Nobody has ever said that cash is worthless that has any appreciable amount of it.
Well, that is a stupid statement to make.
100% it is. I mean, it literally is. It makes zero sense. And what it all is based out of is a misunderstanding and misinformed opinion on how the economy even works in general.
So at this point in time, like that we live in right now, you can go as far as to say that the American dollar is the most valuable, tangible thing that you could even put your hands on, period. Because you can take that anywhere in the world and spend it. Anywhere on the face of the globe and spend it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else can you do that with?
Nothing. There's nothing else that exists that you can do that with. That you can actually hold in your hands and is not tethered to some online false reality.
If you had a bunch of gold and you wanted to, like, you think that's valuable, it's like, well, thank God I got this gold, it's valuable. Do you know how what you'd have to do to go and buy a steak from Publix
Trade it for cash.
and
Yep.
then go to Publix.
Yep.
Tell me how cash is worthless right now.
It's the craziest thing when you think about it.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah,
Okay.
it really is. You got anything to add on this superfluous conversation, Blake?
Nah.
So the reason it's fun to talk about these things. It's just pure fun. It's like watching Lord of the Rings. That's the kind of fun we're having right now.
It's like playing pickleball. Fun.
Yeah, it really is. It's just fun to talk about.
Yeah.
If you think for a minute that I'm actually concerned about any of this, I fooled you, buddy. Gotcha. I mean, if you think for a minute that I am actually legitimately concerned about any of this, I really fooled you. But I have a big imagination, and that's why I enjoy having these conversations. It's wonderful. It's just wonderful fun. It's really all it is. So for all of you guys that are really legitimately concerned about all this and you're hoarding cash and gold and ammo and all this stuff, I want to remind you of something. You will be dead soon. Real soon. When's the last time you contemplated your mortality? We don't do that very often, do we? We just hoard all of our stuff thinking that this world is going to be, and we're going to be a part of this world for the rest of eternity. We forget that we're going to be dead soon. Chili, can you get your hands on a human skull?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I want a human skull.
Well, I certainly can.
Legally? Is it illegal to possess a human skull?
Well, I don't know.
Surely you can get one.
Oh, you can get one.
Corpsewood Manor had one.
They had two of them, a baby skull too.
No, I mean, what do you mean by legal?
Well, I don't know. Is there a law against owning a human skull, Corn?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, technically.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, look it up,
No,
Blake.
no need for that, but
Because I want to get my hands on a human skull. I'm going to tell you why. Because we get to travel around, right? We get to travel around and we get to do these speaking engagements. And, it's interesting to me that so much, I would say 98% of the conversation that's being had on the most popular platforms out there revolve around stupid crap like what we just got done talking about. They revolve around like you living your best life. We are just inundated with all of this stuff. And no, I'm not saying that it's all bad stuff. A lot of it can, maybe help you navigate this life that you're living and this and that. But I think that, again, we don't contemplate the fact that we're all going to be dead and gone from this place real soon. And I was thinking about if we could get a hold of a human skull, I'm going to start traveling around with it to our speaking engagements. And when we go and speak, I'm going to bust out my human skull and I'm going to pass it around the room. And I'm going to let everybody there hold that thing and let them realize, you know what you're looking at? You're looking at yourself. That's you, buddy. That's you real soon.
can you imagine that creep walking up to a speaking engagement with his suit on and a human skull in his pocket?
Now what would that do to shift your mindset leading into a conversation What would it do if you were holding a human skull and contemplating the fact that you're looking at yourself? That might change what you want to talk about, what you want to hear. That might shift your perspective on what's important about the conversation that we're about to have right now. That might make all the things that you thought you really needed and that you really wanted to learn and to hear, and that might make all of those things still be good things, but it might make them way more insignificant than the one thing. I've just thought that might be a good exercise.
Well,
I bet it would.
you can't. It is okay to have human bones. There's 3 states that have restrictions. That's Louisiana, Tennessee, and Georgia.
Well, there you go.
Dang. We're going to move to Alabama.
Yeah. I actually found one on here for sale
Or
for
Florida.
$2,000. Female skull.
You found one for sale?
Yeah, here's another one from India for $1,800.
Them Indians are always selling their skulls, man.
Chad would freaking buy it too with all his cash.
This one's got 22 teeth. It lost some antemortem, possible broken nasal bone. Otherwise, nice condition.
It lost them after death.
Probably rattled loose.
Uh,
So
well, Chad, you could just get a fake human skull.
Yeah, a replica.
It
that-
wouldn't have the same impact.
You want it to stink.
No, I don't.
I guarantee you they could make one that was show enough, like right there, like, whoa, this might be real.
Yeah, but I don't want to have to tell the people that this is a replica. I want to say this is you. This is a real.
well, don't
human
tell them
skull.
anything. Just say, I'm gonna pass this around. Just know this is you.
Blake, buy me one of those skulls while we're on here.
Skulls. Have it shipped to Cornelius Esquire III over in Huntsville, Alabama.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, how would that influence? How do you think that exercise would influence the audience that you have before you prior to the presentation of the gospel of Christ and the gift of eternal life? Do you think that exercise would have an impact?
Yeah.
I know it would on me.
Yeah. I believe it would shift, just like we was talking, the value of money. Like, I think you would say, here's what's valuable. 100%.
Well, do you think? I guess you like illustrations and examples. I mean, do you think you have to have a authentic human skull, a authentic adult cranium to pass around to create that feeling in people, or can you just
It's just my style, man.
can you maybe say, well, consider that you're gonna die, and then carry on?
It's just not. I just don't feel like it would be as impactful if you actually were beholding and contemplating the fact that this skull was you
Well, I've thought
in a
about
few
that
short years.
before. Like if you go to an open casket funeral and you see the dude or lady, whatever, laying there, like you're just a numrod if you don't think like, well, that could be me.
Yeah, but it's all even that. I see what you're saying, Blake. But even that, it's all dressed up. The dead don't even look like the dead. We don't behold death anymore. That's why we never contemplate our morality. We never contemplate the fact that we are going to die because we very rarely behold death. I mean, here in America, there are people that go their entire lifetime and never behold the ugliness of death and the reality of death. Their whole freaking life, man.
Yeah, as soon as someone dies, you call someone, hey, come get this joker out of here because he's dead.
Well, usually they don't even do that. They die in the hospital.
Yeah.
Well, have you? Maybe this is getting sidetracked, but have you also noticed? I ain't talking about when they dress them up and embalm them and do all the stuff to them.
Isn't that silly?
Yeah.
Isn't that so silly?
Well, I don't really.
What a silly, stupid tradition.
Well, I don't know why we do open caskets anyway. I mean, you can behold it in due time, but I'm not just going to leave you out laying for days, especially when y'all dressed up. Let's just cover you up, put some dirt on you. But anyhow, not aside from the makeup and the embalming, it's not the person you're seeing anymore. Have you ever considered that? Like, it don't feel like looking at, I mean, people that I've been in my family that I've looked at, like it ain't them.
Right.
It slap ain't. It's their body that is not them.
Yeah.
It's weird to me. I've had a few instances of that, and every time it's this same feeling of like, I can recognize this person, but I am not looking at fill in the blank name. I'm looking at something that they inhabited. It's really odd.
Yeah.
I mean, it strikes me every single time. But anyway.
Well, are you going to get me one of them skulls, Blake?
Probably not. I might get you one and deceive you. Get a nice fake one.
Be a
and
good
just tell
tax
you
write-off, man.
Tell you it's real.
I didn't know you could buy them off the internet.
I want Corn to
Yeah.
have a big cane with a skull on the top of it as an orb.
A monkey
You
skull.
can get it from the bone room.
Ain't that wild, man? You can order one off the internet.
Yeah, I never would have thought that.
Where could you order the human one?
The bone room.
Oh,
That is something else. $2,000.
that's probably a scam.
Could be.
Well, in light of our contemplation of our morality, or mortality, not morality, but our mortality, I do want to challenge you with something that is of legitimate importance. And that is the question: is God in his proper place in your life? Because here we come with something that is important and essential. And I want to share with you a short prayer that was written by A.W. Tozer in his book, The Pursuit of God. And I want to ask you to consider, is this the way that you might pray sometimes? O God, be thou exalted over my possessions. Nothing of earth's treasures shall seem dear unto me if only thou art glorified in my life. Be thou exalted over my friendships. I am determined that thou shall be above all. Though I must stand deserted and alone in the midst of the earth, be thou exalted above my comforts. Though it mean the loss of bodily comforts and the carrying of a heavy cross, I shall keep my vow made this day before thee. Be thou exalted over my reputation. Make me ambitious to please thee, even if, as a result, I must sink into the obscurity and my name be forgotten as a dream. Rise, O Lord, into thy proper place of honor, above my ambitions, above my likes and dislikes, above my family, my health, and even my life itself. Let me decrease that thou mayest increase. Let me sink that thou mayest rise above. Ride forth upon me, as thou did ride into Jerusalem, mounted upon the humble little beast, a colt, the foal of an ass. And let me hear the children cry to thee, Hosanna, in the highest. That is, in my opinion, one doozy of a prayer right there. And I want to ask you and challenge you to reflect upon your life and ask yourself, is the Lord God exalted over your possessions, your reputation? Is he exalted over your friendships, your comforts? Is he exalted over your ambitions? Is he exalted over your health? Ooh, that's a big one. That's a big one right there. Is he exalted over your likes and dislikes, your relationships? If he's not, then he hasn't taken his proper place in your life. I don't know. That was a challenging thing for me to read. So it's so rare that maybe never you've prayed in that manner. And how many times are our prayers just filled with these requests? And not that the Lord doesn't want to know your needs in this life, and he doesn't want you, it's not that he doesn't want you to cry out to him and all that stuff. But how often do we simply take the time to reflect and then pray to the Lord God that he be exalted over all things in our lives, in this world, in heaven, even exalted over all things pertaining to ourselves, our own bodies, likes, dislikes, our own health even. I say health is a big one because we as a society, we worship our health. I mean, we worship it, man. With these freaking, dude, these all the information that's out there, all the people that are just bound to these doctors, man. We worship our health as if we're going to live forever. I'm not saying you shouldn't be healthy, but Lord knows we as a society have exalted our health above the Lord God. I think that's fairly obvious. I want to read you one scripture from Isaiah, and then I'll get any input that you guys have, and then we can call it a day. What's happening in our country? You know, it's when you read the Old Testament in the Bible, you can read a lot and you can maybe not understand why it's in there. But when we read the Old Testament, we can learn a lot about the nature of God, essentially his personality, if you would say. Don't know if that's the right word. But you can read also a lot about how the Lord God has dealt with a nation or a people who have decided to turn against him or to turn their back on him. So if you want to understand more about what's happening in America, you should look back on or the West, period. Not just America, but I would say the West as a whole. If you want to have a deeper understanding of why things are the way they are, maybe you should go back and read in the Old Testament about how God dealt with the nation of Israel when they decided to turn their back on him. Because it'll show you how he deals with nations who abandon the knowledge of him. And this was an interesting, I think, example or picture of when God dealt with the nation of Israel when they had turned their back on him one of the many times, and the judgment that was pronounced on that nation through the prophet Isaiah. And it presented a very interesting picture of our nation or the West in general right now. It says, this is Isaiah chapter 3, "For behold, the Lord of hosts, does take away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay and the staff, the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water, the mighty man and the man of war. He's taken them away. The judge and the prophet and the prudent and the elder. He's taken them all away." In verse 3, "The captain of 50, the honorable man, the counselor, and the cunning artificer and the elegant orator. And I will give children to be their princes, and babes shall rule over them. And the people shall be oppressed, every one by another, and every one by his neighbor. The child shall be insolent against the age, and the base against the honorable. When a man shall take hold of his brother of the house of his father, saying, Thou hast clothing, be thou our ruler, and let this ruin be under thy hand. In that day shall he swear, saying, I will not be a healer, for in my house is neither bread nor clothing. Make me not a ruler of the people. And then skip down in verse 12. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. So if you're wondering what's going on in most of the modern world today, go back and look at this 3rd chapter of Isaiah and how God dealt with the nation of Israel when they turned their back on him and the judgments that he pronounced on them. And understand that that same God, he's the same today. And so what we're seeing happen is a result of God's judgment, which has already been passed upon all nations who have decided to utterly turn their back on him. That's what we're seeing happen right now. The judgment has already been made by God. What you are seeing are the results of that judgment. And so you won't be quite so confused if you see things in that light. Well, that's all I had for the people today. What the crap, you wet dish rags?
Exalted, placed at a high and or powerful regard.
Yeah.
You know, are you submitting everything before God, under God?
Yep.
I fight with that all the time. All the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what stuck out to me, was exalted.
Yeah, it stuck out to me too. What about you, Blake?
Well, I think we see this all the time, that the issue is that we interpret God's love for us through our circumstances. So we say, if we're not healthy, then God must not love us, or he must be mad at me. If I'm not getting the promotions I want at work, then God must not love me. Or, I mean, fill it in with whatever you want, whatever your desire is. And then they're basically saying, well, God's love is not his love and his actions, thousands of years ago, was not sufficient enough to show his love for me. I need him to make my life good right now. I need promotions and Jesus. And, I need good health and Jesus. Just Jesus alone is not enough. And so that means simply that you're putting those things, like, they must be met. Like, yeah, Jesus got to be there, like, but I also got to have these other things. But if I don't have them both, then it's just not going to cut it. And so, I think honestly, all of us could look at ourselves and probably think of something that, that we're feeling that way to a degree about. I think maybe not, but I would say probably likely so. And, that's what stood out to me. I have been that person before, and I think we all still are to a degree, whether we realize it or not. We will, if we if we seek to see those things in ourselves. But
I think it's interesting. I've often said, and more so thought or questioned prayer. And in general, it's centered around the idea of, well, why even ask God for anything if whatever's going to happen is going to happen? That's the dumbed down version of the line of thinking, or maybe it just is that dumb. But essentially, if you ask that, then you would come, the core question is, well, then why pray? Well, I guess it's convenient to just think that the only utility of prayer is to receive something, like Corn talked about exalting. I mean, maybe that is maybe prayer isn't for asking for anything. I mean, I don't think that's wrong necessarily in its proper place, right? But maybe that's not even the.
Well, I think it is biblical to present your request before.
Yeah,
God
I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying what's the, like, even looking at it in that frame, it's like, well, even if that, yeah, I'm not saying that's wrong, but regardless, that's secondary.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, what? Take that out of it. You know, pray to. I don't know. I mean, I guess I still would ask questions, or, you know, I think people, you talk about closeness to God, and sometimes there's a struggle with that, sometimes not as much, but yeah, pray for that reason. And maybe that reason alone at times.
yeah, I think God just desires, I mean, it's, you know, much as you hear it, maybe cliche as it sounds, but really just the relationship aspect of things. And he designed us to want relationship. You know, most people want companion. That's why even people that say they don't like people, that's why they get dogs, because they want a companion. Like they want,
All things were created for His pleasure.
yeah. And so, you know, our prayers to Him, it doesn't even have to be words. Like, you know, like I think I would encompass prayer and like even just worship, like, you know, just sitting there meditating and thinking on God's word and what He's done for you. And I mean, and then, you know, you are naturally going to present your request, because like that's it, presenting your request is a form of submission. You're saying, I want and I need
Yeah.
these things, but I can't meet them.
Yeah.
Can you, will you? And so,
Yeah, there's nothing wrong.
that's submission to God. And, you know, you when you're like Corn can realize, like when you're a parent, and you know, I got to think that God allows us the ability to have kids so that maybe we can understand His love for us and His relationship to us better. And like, you know what your kid needs, like, you know, he needs food, water, you know, he needs love. But how much more does it joy you when your kid comes up and he like wants to spend time with you, or she, or, you know, or they want you to come lay down in bed with them and put them to sleep and read them a story. Like, you know, they need those things, you know, they want them, but how much more does it pleasure you for them to come to you and ask those things? And, you know, I think even if you don't have kids, you can understand that, but you actually feel it when you do have kids. Like, you always probably understand it, but you actually feel it, and it makes a little more sense. Like, well, that's what, I mean, I don't know, but you think like that's what God wants, is the companion. Like, we were literally created not to spread the gospel, not to, you know, do all of these things that we think are good. Why'd God create Adam and Eve? Just to have fellowship with Him, right? You know, and so um the things that come out during prayer, I think it's less about what comes out during prayer and
Yeah.
more about that you're actually
Yeah.
spending quiet time with God, and doesn't really matter what, you know, it's your heart behind it. I mean, in the end, that's just your heart behind everything. Are you spending time with God in prayer because you want a Lamborghini? Well, everybody knows that's wrong, but are you spending time with God because you actually want to be closer to him, and it comes out that you want a Lamborghini, well, he don't care because your heart behind it's spending time with God, right? I mean, so that's that would be my thought on like prayer, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, how much of our prayer is centered around, again, the whole thought of we want our best life now.
Yeah.
Like, for what purpose? Why? Like, how much of your prayer is centered around that?
Yeah.
Like, when you consider that you're along the same context of contemplating your morality or your mortality, when you really your problem is not that all of our problems, it's not that we don't know that we are weak. It's that we don't know how weak we really are.
Yeah.
We don't know how weak and fragile and just incapable we really are.
Yeah.
We don't know that, man. We just don't contemplate that. And when you come to that, when you arrive, or or through whatever process the Lord takes you through over time, and you realize your utter incapability and you're just utter and absolute weakness, and you can have a realization of that on some higher level, you know, it shifts your perspective in crying out to God from, God, let me present these requests before you so I can have my best life now. It shifts to just coming to God, and like there's really nothing more to be said than, oh Lord, help us in everything. Like, help us. We are utterly incapable, infallible, and weak in all aspects. It's hard to think about weakness as a gift from God, but I believe it really is. I believe weakness is a gift.
Well, certainly the recognition of it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We got any super chats, Blake?
Yeah, we had quite a few. Let's start working through those.
Gosh, this has been a long podcast. How long has this podcast been?
2 hours 5 minutes right now.
Good night.
So we had James Wright at the $1.99. Chili's a numb rod.
A numb rod. Whoa.
We had Davis Weingar
Thank you, James.
coming in at $99.99.
Dang, Davis.
$99.99.
Yeah.
Whoa. Thank you for that generous super chat, Davis.
Lord, Davis.
We had Davis Weingar coming in at 99 cents after that.
There you
There
go.
we go again. Look, I'm too exhausted to yell at you guys today.
We had little Virgil coming at 99 cents. He'd send a little beach thing with
I
the
love little
umbrella.
Virgil. I
there.
love him.
Yeah. So had that.
I needed that.
We had Chili Jr. coming in at $9.99. He said, "Hey Chad, Dad has been talking crap about you behind your back. He called you a lazy fat turd. Also, we still out of Fruity Pebbles."
Oh, Chili Jr., man, he must have had a good allowance this week coming in at $9.99.
I'm gonna beat him
Man.
like a Memphis trick when we get home.
We had Marty Bingham.
You ever
come in.
been beat like a Memphis trick, Chili Jr.? Because you about to.
Stay on the path, Chili Jr. Stay on the path.
Had Marty Bingham come in at $49.99.
Good
Whoa,
night,
overall,
Marty.
Marty.
He said, "I'm working on a plan where if I get the right underwear, spend $1 bazillion on gear, and watch endurance videos on YouTube 8 hours a day, I'll be able to knock out 24 hours of constant movement in 22 hours on the rock course."
In 22 hours.
That's a pretty good training. That's a
Dude,
pretty good goal to have, Marty.
He just bought a Don't Die in the Chair shirt.
He's about to lose
Yeah.
time, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Well, let me give you a tip, Marty. No underwear.
And if you do wear underwear, just crap in them.
Yeah.
Is that tip under the knowledge that he'll probably have overalls on?
Well, if he's
Ooh,
got
that's a good
overall,
point. You know he's gonna have his denim overalls on.
God, I hope he does.
I mean, he's got to.
He will be the first ever to
Bet you
complete,
don't.
to complete
got
the
to.
rock course in overalls.
Yeah.
I'd love that, Marty.
Oh, Marty will have his overalls on.
He'll have them. Yeah, he'll have them at least to put on once he's done.
I think he'll wear them during the rock course.
That'd be legendary. I'll tell you that.
We had Kiefer Hansen come in at $4.99.
Kiefer.
Thank
Thank
you, Kiefer.
He said, "My first time catching you turds live. Hashtag corn for president. Hashtag Memphis trick. Love y'all. Thank you for the podcast and me and you."
Appreciate you tuning in, man.
Man,
Thank
talk
you for the
about,
super chat.
talk about a built-in presidential slogan. Cornbread 2028. Memphis trick.
Yep.
I'll beat you like a Memphis trick. Who you gonna be running against in 2028? Chad?
No,
Barack.
Michelle.
Michelle? I'll beat Michelle Obama like a Memphis trick.
We had Caleb Carter come in at $5.
I'll be a
First
Memphis
cup
trick.
of Chemex coffee tastes like baby piss. Good to go after that.
Oh,
There
yeah,
you
yeah.
go.
You got to wear that thing in.
Yeah.
Good word there, buddy.
Marty Bingham coming back in at $9.99. He
Yeah,
said,
Marty.
"Oh, and I'm gonna eat a turtle and get some hoist."
There you go.
You're on track, Marty.
James Wright coming in at $1.99. Kelly Girl Charters has floaties for chili.
James, right? We ain't going fishing with Kelly girl. We're going fishing with
Garrison.
we're going fishing with Garrison Rosie, man. Come on. That's all we do inshore fishing, man. We don't do that deep sea fishing. That stuff's for gays. Kids and gays. Gay means happy, by the way. It's for kids and happy people.
Oh,
We had Haven DeZiu come in at 99¢. No message.
there you go.
Oh, well,
You're
Hey,
lucky you didn't put a message in there, Haven. I'd have slapped you.
We had Haven come back in at $4.99.
There we go.
First time catching this podcast live. I hear Chad likes coins, so I'm spending some via Super Chat. Don't spend them all in one place now.
I appreciate that, Haven.
We had Haven come back in at 99¢.
Oh,
And then we had Haven come back in at 99¢.
dang, Haven.
Haven, we don't fool with that 99¢. I told y'all in the last episode I throw change in the garbage.
do it.
Now this one is LXIII Pendragon, and in the same Roman numerals after, coming in at $10. This is dedicated to chili.
There you
Hey,
go.
Chili.
Well, thank you.
LX.
LXI Pendragon. Thank you.
We'll give that to you after the
You got
show.
a fan out there, Chili.
How much is it?
10.
Well, dang.
Ooh,
Well, I ain't-
that'll buy Chili Jr. a beat box of Fruity
Well,
Pebbles.
no, after taxes, that's only about $3.
True.
I'm
Yeah,
not worth
you're
that.
right. You're right.
But thank you. Daggum.
We had Haven come back in at 99¢.
Haven, you're starting to flare me up, brother.
We had the Millstone Project come in at $4.99. Chad, I hope you enjoyed the beard oil. Currently training for a 10-mile run. Hope to be running further in the next year.
Outstanding. Yes, that's great beard oil. As a matter of fact, I kept in a vial of it in my Land Cruiser to keep the scent wafting on my beautiful beard. Thank you for that. Tremendous asset.
Briston Rains coming in at $1.99. Tell me about them Speedlands.
Briston, I told y'all about the Speedlands. Hold on. How much did he donate?
$1.99.
Okay. I told y'all about them Speedlands last
Okay,
week.
like that's any better.
Go listen to the episode last week, buddy. I told you about the dang Speedland, man.
Little Virgil coming in at 99¢.
OV. No message.
Nope.
That's yep.
Manfred Kampf coming in at $25. I support 307 and appreciate your content and determination. I enjoy the Patreon content as well.
Thank you, Manfred. And
Thank you, Manfred.
he's the OG Canadian. He's the only person to send you Canadian gold
He's the real deal. He's
Yeah.
a real Canadian.
from Florida.
Yeah.
Gatekeeper PVVQ coming at $4.99. Chad, you'll never guess who said you sound like a wise old owl. And he doesn't tell us who said that, but you'll never guess it.
Well, I do like owls, Gatekeeper.
Bigfoot is real coming in at $4.99. What's up, Chad and CB? You boys thought you could find me. Well, joke's on you. Here's $4.99. Times are a little tough for Bigfoot right now.
And I'll tell you what, Bigfoot, we're gonna freaking kill you one day.
Just wait and see.
Yeah, you might
You
be.
hide and watch.
Yeah,
Son.
you might be surprised, Bigfoot. You didn't think about that,
hide
did you?
and watch. Then we're taking your cash.
Yep.
We had little Virgil coming in $1.99. He put the microphone emoji.
Thank you,
On that
LV.
one.
Thank you.
Good to see you again, LV.
Manfred Comp coming back in at $20. Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom, no such thing as public liberty without freedom of speech. Benjamin Franklin.
I like it, Manfred. Good word, man.
Bearded Red double alt coming in at $10. Corn, I see you working hard, man. Keep it up. Also, 16-inch barrels over 14.5. If you want it shorter, it's better to be because you're using a suppressor, a noise
Whoa.
canceling device.
Yeah, don't say that word.
Love the podcast. Stay present, guys. God bless.
God bless you too,
Thank you.
brother.
Thank you, brother.
He come back in at $5. Water, food, ammo, and meds. That's what most people will need item-wise, but you ain't getting nowhere without a team. Buying to communities, not gold or Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's a good word, man.
Yep.
Mark Stoddard, $4.99. God changing people through you folks at 3 of 7. Have a blessed weekend.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mark. You
Mark.
too, man.
Clock and Floor coming in at $1.99. Cunningly placed diversion, also known as decoy.
Thank you, Clock and Floor.
Gatekeeper coming back in at $4.99. You never see the Brinks trucks dropping money off. They only make pickups. Where's all the cash going?
Mm-hmm.
Probably going to Cornbread's house.
I'm going to the Ukraine.
James Wright coming in at $1.99. Still love Chili, even though he can't fish.
Chili
Oh,
wants to fish.
Then
man, he's on you about this fishing, man.
He wants to go fish. It's just
Then
a
he-
pipe dream.
he come back in at $1.99 and said, "Take me along and present me as death."
Good word. We got to come up with a nickname for James.
He's got a few Grizz, Poppy.
I call him Pipe Dream.
Barrel chest.
Garrick coming in at 11. I mean, Garrick 11. That's his name. Coming in at $49.99.
Golly.
night.
I'm with
Garrick.
Chili. Even a fake skull will make a huge impact on people. I remembered the impact the clock exercise that James Ward had on me. It was huge because we all think we have time. All I can say is repent, pick up your cross, and follow Jesus.
I like that, Garrett. Yeah, somebody send me one of them skulls. What's the P.O. box?
454 Rome, Georgia, 30162.
Some-
P.O. Box 454.
Somebody send me a dang skull. I want it by next week.
Priority mail. Send it tonight.
Little Virgil coming in at 99 cents.
I want it by next week. LV?
Yep.
Thank you, LV.
LV, thank you.
Bless you. Thank you.
Bearded Red double alt coming back in at $5. Said every time Blake chimes in, it's fire. Chad is blessed to have such a good brother. Keep at it, tech guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Muscled up runner Greer coming in at $9.99. John 15:5. God bless y'all. Love y'all. Such a powerful message today. If I don't put you on your knees, I don't know.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate you, muscled up runner.
Thank you, brother.
Justin Milford coming in at $20. Boys, my softball team has gotten away from our standard. As a coach, I had to sit back and let them fail. I'm back in my role. I reminded them while we bear the cross on our uniforms, how should I deliver the creed?
Hey, man, just step up there and give it to him, Justin. Step up there and give it to him, man. Get them fired up. And live it out.
Yeah, live it out and explain what it is, what it's for.
That's right.
Little Virgil coming back in at 99 cents with the rainbow emoji.
LV.
Had enough of you, LV.
Jack McMullen coming in at $4.99.
Whoa.
This is Chad Jr. Chili Jr. can eat dirt. Chad is the dad.
Appreciate that, Bubba.
Boom.
Appreciate that, Bubba. You've been gone a long time. It's about time you joined in on the conversation.
Dr. Phil's eyebrows coming in at $1.99.
Bill McGraw.
He said, "Oil up, gang."
Hold up.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'll oil up your head, son. Stick it right up your butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't like that very much, would you?
Oh,
What was his name?
Dr. Phil's eyebrows.
Yeah, you wouldn't like that, would you, Dr. Phil's eyebrows?
You ever had your head oiled up?
Oh, your
It
head
stuck
up for
your
you.
Well, we had Haven come back in at 99 cents.
When's the last time you got your head oiled up?
Thank you, Haven.
And then we had Gatekeeper come back in at $1.99. He said, hoo, with the owl.
There you
Gatekeeper,
go.
you're freaking me out, dude.
Then we had Tralia Park come in at $5. Love from Calhoun.
There you go.
Calhoun.
Spider-Man hand.
And then the last one,
Thank you for that, buddy.
we had Sparta come in at $2. Said, what kind of skull do you want, boss?
I want a human skull.
People's gonna be out there
I don't-
digging up graves.
Sparta,
dude.
when's the last time you had your head oiled up?
And look, I don't want no darn Indian skull. I want a white man skull.
They gonna be out there digging
Don't
up graves.
send me no daggone Indian skull or Mexicans.
Well, I'll
or
tell
none
you
of
right
that.
Now, if any of y'all go digging up some of my family and get that skull, I'm gonna beat the brakes off of you. Period.
Look, I don't care how they.
First, I'm gonna oil your head up.
I'm gonna hold your head for you, and then
don't-
I'm gonna beat it.
I don't care how they get it. Just send it to me. It better be cleaned up nice too. Look, I ain't got time.
Sherbet Green just come in at 99 cents.
You know, Sherbet. I was just talking about you the other day, man. I'll tell you what, Sherbet. If there ever was a large piece of freaking crap Sherbet, you coming around here, you disrespecting me, you posting all this stuff, you coming around here trying to give me your pocket change like a piece of crap. You coming in, look, don't forget, Sherbet,
Can't think.
don't forget. That's all I got to say to you today.
Oh. We had Sparta come back in at $2. He said, how old of a skull are you looking for?
I want a
Oh my
mature
gosh.
skull.
At least 20?
This is getting wild.
I need a
man.
mature skull.
No more than 80?
Yeah, we don't want no old person. Brittle.
Well, that's a skull.
And we've reached the end here. So
Well, shut it down.
Love you guys. Enough said.